Hi, I'm Dr. Tiffany Row, and this webinar is on creating accessible lessons for special education from the Getty Museum virtual resources. Thank you so much for joining me. I am going to share with you, if in case you're not aware, the Getty Museum, located in Los Angeles, has an amazing catalog of lesson plans, free, with downloads of all the art that you would need to bring it into your classroom or online for virtual learning for your students. And the lesson plans are amazing, but they are designed for a general education kind of group of students, and they're great. But I wanted to just share a few ways that you could make some accommodations or modify the lessons a little bit so that you can use them with a diverse range of learners and make them accessible. Okay, so here are the websites, and I wish that I could share a link with you, but this is a pre-recorded webinar, so I can't do that. But I'm going to just walk you through how to find this if you go to getty.edu. Okay, but if you want to write these down and go straight to it, I actually like this one the best. So it's getty.edu/education/teachers/classroom_resources/curricula/index.html. Okay, so you could like write that down or type it in right now, or I'll just show you exactly how to get there from the Getty Museum. So let's go there right now. Okay, here we are. Good. Okay. I can't tell if this, I'm sorry. I hope you're able to see this. This is what I'm sharing. Okay, good. I couldn't tell for a second. So this is the main website, getty.edu. And you're going to go to resources. It's not super obvious. So that's why I'm kind of walking you through this. This is here sometimes, but not always. So I'm going to show you how to do it all the time in case this little pop-up is not there. Go to resources. Then go down to K-12 teaching, then to lesson plans. You're still not there yet. Then scroll down to resources for the classroom. And then this is pretty good, but the best one is here, see all curricula. Okay, this is the best way to look at it. And look, I looked at so many of them. You can see the ones in purple. I just had so much fun going through all of these. I'm just gonna share with you 2 lesson plans and the changes, the modifications that I made to them. So I'm gonna walk you through all of that. But as you can see, just poetry and art, ancient art, art and science, decorative arts, art and language arts, and an ESL enrichment curriculum. It goes from kindergarten through adult in terms of the level. And a lot of the simpler ones, I think, could easily be used and adjusted for higher levels because they're still really cool and they're not babyish. So if you see a cool like grade elementary level lesson, I think you could definitely apply some more middle high school level Common Core standards to what they do, because it's just so rich with possibilities of covering many different kinds of objectives. Okay, so let me go back to my slides and we'll get into it. All right. So that's where you find it. Now, a few tips before I dig into a couple of the lessons. A few tips on modifying or simplifying lessons. Now, the ones that I did were more for younger kids, but like I said, you really could do this for all ages. And many students in special education need a lot of language modeling, right? We have a lot of students that are speech and language delayed. That's one of our largest categories. So I kind of had that in mind, but you can also make accommodations for fine motor. So let me just go over these. These are just some basic tips. You're going to want to increase the language modeling. You're going to see in a lot of these lessons that it's very discussion based and like what do you think? What do you see? Posing questions like that to the students. Think of a time, can you relate to this? Think about your family or whatever. So what you might need to do is model first. Instead of opening up a discussion, maybe your students are ready for that, but if they have a speech or language delay, or if they're English learners, they are going to need more modeling from you. So you might need to start up the discussions, sharing what you think or what you see. Generally, it's more of a constructive approach where you don't want to give the kids the answers. You want to help them construct their own ideas. But when we're dealing with students who have perhaps a language disability, we've got to give them some of the language to use first so that then they can incorporate it with their own thoughts inside. Okay. You also want to reinforce their language through repeating back what they've said. This goes for anything really. But so if they share, you know, oh, I see a face, or I see a girl holding a dog, then you would want to repeat back, yes, the girl is holding a dog. It's a small dog. So repeat back what they say and then maybe add a little bit more onto it. Very, very effective at helping build their language skills and their conversation skills and their discussion participation skills. Another thing is, you know, if you're doing this virtually, then you might want to use digital pointers or highlight parts of the artwork. So like, as you can see, I have my pointer that just comes with Zoom right here, and it's not very big. So there is another pointer that you can use in Zoom. And okay, here we go. I'm going to show it to you. You go to annotate. I don't know if you can see it right now, if it's still only showing my slide, but go to annotate and then spotlight. And then now you have, now it's not working. It's just a little light. I guess that's what it did. I thought it was something different. Or go to spotlight and you can have an arrow. So it put an arrow there. I didn't, arrow. And then my name on it. But there are other ones that you can use. The Zoom ones are okay to start, but there are other ones, like you can find a pointer app that has really cute pointers, or you might need to just go in and kind of digitally highlight parts of the artwork ahead of time that you want to share with them, that you really want them to focus on. And then also you want to offer and accept multiple means of communication. So showing, allow students to show you something rather than talk about it sometimes, maybe. Give picture responses if you use Boardmaker or something like that. Give short answers, right? So we always want a complete sentence, but maybe a student isn't there yet. Or maybe you know they can, but they're just shy one day. Well, if you start up with, you need to talk in complete sentences, and you push them a little too hard on a day that they're just feeling, they're struggling a little bit for whatever reason, they're gonna shut down. So you might need to make that decision that, okay, today I'm gonna accept short answers from the student because I want them to participate in this lesson about art. I want them to at least have some level of discussion participation with us. So they're gonna give you a one-word answer. Yeah, that's right, it is blue. It's big and blue. Repeat back what they've said and add on to it just like you would anyways. And maybe also allow students the option to participate in the discussion in the chat rather than verbally, if they prefer that, so that then you're at least getting some participation out of them and pulling them in a way that they're comfortable. Meet them kind of halfway. You might want to simplify the final product. There are a lot of lessons like you saw, and they have the student create a piece of art at the end on their own. And so you might want to simplify that based on your students' fine motor skills, you know your students. I would model the final product and provide examples, different possible examples of the final product. Yes, your students might just copy what you did, and I know that's what we want to avoid. We want them to be creative, but if your goal is participation, then you might just offer that up. And really, if a child is ready to do it on their own and not copy, then they will. They'll go ahead and use their own creativity. So but they might need to copy to really learn. It can still be a valuable learning experience, even if they're just copying your work. And then also, and I'm going to talk about this in the second lesson, is the Getty has so much amazing artwork, and it's available and free to you without even signing up or anything. So it's really cool. But you might need to diversify some of the art. Some of the art tends, like I'm going to show you one lesson. I mean, it varies by lesson, but one of the lessons I'm going to show you includes a piece of art that's from the 1700s, I think. I'll have to see on that again, and it's a wealthy white family that looks like they're royals, perhaps. And it's a cool piece of art that can spoke a lot of discussion, and there's a lot of little things, little nuances that you can hone in on and notice. So it's a very rich painting in that way, that it can spark a lot of discussion. But maybe not all students are really going to feel a strong connection to that particular family depicted in the artwork. So I have gathered a couple of other pieces that represent more diverse families for that lesson, in hopes that maybe students will feel more of a connection if they see people represented who look like them or represent them in some way. So you might need to do that as well. And I didn't get those images from the Getty. I got them from just various places online. And so feel free to do that. They're not all necessarily considered like fine art, but that's okay. It's art and it's representative. All right, so the first one I'm going to share with you. This one is expressing emotions through art. So let's just take a look at it. Let me take you over there really quick. Sorry. Here we go. So this is under the lesson plans, and it's titled Expressing Emotions Through Art. And as you can see, there's 4 different lessons, all K through 2, but you could use this at so many levels. I could even see it used in secondary. So I'm going to go over lesson 1 with you. I just wanted to show you kind of where you can find it. And if you click on the lesson, then you will find the lesson plan right here under materials. The materials are so simple. So these are materials that most students should have at home if you're doing this virtually, or that you can provide in school. And then if you're doing hybrid, the kids at school and home can do this together. And then it has 2 different portraits that you can download, good quality, and this is all free, by the way. I hope I mentioned that. So let me go back. And I'm going to share with you now the lesson plan. Okay. Let's see. Actually, let me go back to the PowerPoint first. Where did it go? Sorry. Okay. All right. So here is the portrait. Portrait of Maria Frederique at 7 years of age by Leotard, 1755 to 56. A lot of really cool things that you can just look at and notice in this portrait. It's really beautiful. But let me share with you now. I want to share with you the lesson plan. Okay, let me make that a little bit bigger. Here we go. Okay, so this is what the lesson plan looks like. This is exactly the lesson plan, but I added my own notes here in this fuchsia purple color for alternate ideas or ways to make it more accessible, ways to make accommodations or modifications for your students, okay? And it says to do this over 1 to 2 class periods. So you really can take your time with this. You don't have to get through the whole thing. But the objectives are, the objectives they wrote are that students will make connections between their own feelings about caring and similar feelings expressed by artists in works of art, explain how artists depict the idea of caring in works of art, create a drawing of themselves that uses the principles of design to express their feelings of caring for something. Now, maybe that's all good and well for your students, but you know, you're not bound by law to follow their learning objectives. You can come up with your own and just make this fit with what your students need to work on. So I thought about my past students. I used to teach K through 3rd grade, SDC, and I thought about what they would have perhaps benefit from, some different objectives. And I wrote, label their feelings about a special object. Label the feelings they infer are shown in a portrait. Now, I know inference sounds very fancy and like maybe a little too much, but I think it's really doable given the way that this lesson is laid out. And then describe an object they care about using descriptive words like color, size, feeling, etc. So those would have been really good objectives for like my kinder first grade students, but you can come up with your own. So they need pencils, crayons, and drawing paper, although, you know, markers, colored pencils would be fine. You could even do digital drawings if they are adept at that. They should bring images of something they care about to class. And then you might allow them to bring an object that they care about, okay? Not another person, of course, but bring either a photo to the distance learning Zoom session that you might be running or to class of a person or a thing they care about, or bring the thing they care about if it's okay with their parents. So I'm going to kind of model some of this to you and how I would do it. Okay, so they have the thing that's special to them, and you're going to initiate a discussion by sharing a cherished item of your own first, and talk about the emotions that you feel when you think about or look at your special object. So here is where the modeling comes in. So I brought my special object here from when I was a child, okay? This is Little Bear, look at him. He's all old. He's like 40 something years old. I think I got him when I was a toddler. And I would just share this with my students. And this is what I would tell them. You know, I slept with Little Bear from the time I was a toddler until senior year in high school. And then I didn't want to take him to college with me because I was afraid that something might happen to him. So, you know, we parted ways in terms of sleep at night after I went away to college, but I still have him and I still keep him safe in my closet. And, you know, and I know what you're thinking too. That's not a bear, that's a monkey. But does a monkey have a tail, a short little tail like this? See, I think it's a bear. But these were the discussions, these were the debates that I used to have at sleepovers because I wasn't embarrassed. Everybody had something they slept with, right? So I was never really embarrassed that I had Little Bear. And my friends would see, and I would say, oh yeah, that's Little Bear. And they're like, that's not a bear, that's a monkey. And we'd have this kind of fun back and forth debate with each other. So I would just talk from the heart about my cherished object and help students to kind of start priming them for what they're going to share about their special object. It helps students get to know a little bit about you, a little something personal about you and something that you care about. And then it helps them feel comfortable opening up and being a little bit vulnerable, sharing maybe something they sleep with at night or a picture of something that's really them. So that's kind of your hook, is share something of your own, and that's going to get kids interested and get excited to share their own. All right, so back to the lesson. So then they are going to share their feelings about their thing, okay? So it says, ask questions to help your students articulate their feelings about their special object, and then find common threads in children's responses and make connections. Choose a few students to respond to the same questions. I would choose everybody if you have a small group. You know, what is your special something? How long have you had it? Why is it special to you? Does your object remind you of someone or an event? Does it make you feel happy or sad, and why? So here are the accommodations that I recommend. For students with speech and language delays, you might send questions ahead of time home to parents. Email the questions, say, all right, we're going to do this project. We need your child to choose a picture or take a picture on their iPads or whatever of something special to them. And then if you could discuss this with them ahead of time, then they will be more confident and comfortable and ready to share their to share in the discussion of these questions if they've practiced a little bit. If they've already had the discussion, that's front loading, they'll be able to participate better. Also provide language cues to students as needed, get them going on the first part of the sentence, does your object remind you of someone? It looks like this is a picture of vacation that you've been on. Where did you go on vacation? Just keep asking those questions, give them some cues. Share your observations of their special object. If they're real quiet and they can't quite find the words, you can go ahead and jump in. Oh, your blanket looks so soft, and I like the pale blue color. It reminds me of the sky. Go ahead and just give them some language modeling about their special object. Ask other students to share observations about each other's special objects, giving additional peer modeling. And like I mentioned before, repeat back what they say. So repeat back to reinforce the language. You are right, Caitlin's blanket does look fuzzy. Is it fuzzy, Caitlin? So that would be like a discussion that another student mentioned that, oh, it looks fuzzy. Oh, you're right, it does look fuzzy. And then ask, so fostering that discussion. And then it says you may want to ask questions in a way that allows students to respond together. I like this, like how many of you are sharing a toy with us today? How many of you are sharing a picture? How many of you have happy feelings about your object? Is it possible to feel sad feelings? How many of you might feel sad? And then an extension of this, you could extend this over to math. If you happen to be covering graphs and math, or if you have in the past and you want to revisit it, then you can create a graph of the responses of who brought a toy, who brought a photo, who shared, a picture of a person. And then it talks about exploring their emotional connection. How do you care for your special something? If I took a picture of you with your special something, how would you hold it to show me that you cared for it? So accommodations would be that you can share how you care for your object first. So with Little Bear, as you saw, I was holding him kind of very gingerly and almost petting his tummy. And that probably was an indication that I care about this thing. I also talked about that I keep him in my closet, and I didn't take him to college because I didn't want anything to happen to him. So you can give that modeling of how you show that you care for your special object in order to prime students to think about how they care for their special object. And then again, provide that feedback, that modeling, the reinforcement, repeating what they say and extending it. Oh, you would hold it in your arms like this? Oh yeah, we call that cradling in your arms, or cradled in your arms. I can tell how much you care about your object the way you're cradling it in your arms. And you can kind of act it out too, to reinforce the meaning in the language. And then, so after that, that's when you're going to share the work of art from the Getty collection. So first you start with their own objects, even before you show them the piece of art. And that might be day one. Maybe that's it for the day. And then you're going to introduce the work of art. You're going to say, what do you notice first in the picture? Why does it stand out? Does the little girl look happy or sad? What do you think she's thinking? Who do you think she is? Here's where the inferences come in. So this is an opportunity, If you have students on the spectrum, they may really struggle with making these kind of inferences of what somebody might be thinking. So this is a great opportunity to really focus in on their face and kind of model how to read somebody. You can use adjectives to describe the person, look at what else is in the artwork. Do you see someone caring for something in the picture? What is the person caring for? How did the artist show the person cares for the object? Some accommodations would be first to model your observations. Like I said, we would love for it to be really constructive and for the students to come up with their very own ideas, but they might not be there yet if they're really still learning language. So you can model your observations and then invite students to share their observations. If they repeat exactly what you say, great. They're learning and they're practicing. And then if another student adds on to that, awesome, you've got a discussion going. Or you could still invite students to share their observations first, but make it real basic. Just tell me what you see. And then they might just say, a girl. Oh yeah, there's a girl in this picture. What else do you see? What color is she wearing? Just keep probing for more. So you can start it out that way too. And then let's see, just a few more things. If there are more than one pieces of work that you are sharing, then you're going to ask them to compare how it's similar or different. And to make this a little more accessible, you can present the work side by side, make a couple of observations yourself, and then use a Venn diagram, create a Venn diagram to record their responses or some kind of a comparison chart. And then have students make connections between the images of people caring for someone, for something, the art, and their own feelings for their own special art object. So which artwork looks most like how you feel? Why do you think the artwork makes you feel that way? And how do the colors, lines, shapes, and space in the painting make you feel? You might model these answers and then ask students to chime in. Or you can ask, what shapes do you see in this artwork? You know, it says, how do the colors, line, shapes? Maybe that's a bit much to put it all together. So you might just say, what colors do you see? Now, what shapes do you see? Oh, I see a spot right here that looks like a circle. This looks almost like a triangle over here. Do you see any other shapes? Take a look over here. This space is more empty. I wonder why the artist left this space more empty. I like it. It makes me feel calm. It's not too cluttered. What do you think? Because students will have their own cherished possessions or images, they'll likely be very excited to share. So really take advantage of that enthusiasm, but keep bringing it back to the artwork. It could very easily become all about their object. And maybe you allow some of that, but try to also bring it back to the artwork and bring it back to those objectives that you set. Then it asks them to create a drawing of themselves that expresses their feelings of caring for their special object. The drawing needs not to be a finished artwork, but should reinforce what they have expressed about caring feelings in the observations of the artwork. So I said, be flexible here. Creating the drawing might be the lesson's goal, but expectations can be adjusted. Some students might draw a picture of just their object, not themselves and their object. That's fine. Too difficult, then maybe they could just use colors to create an abstract piece that reflects how their object makes them feel. Just kind of create something and allow for optional sharing. Creating a piece of art as something so personal might make students feel a little uneasy about sharing their artwork. So give them the option to opt out is what I would say. And then for the assessment, it says, you know, some different ideas for assessing. I would say relate it to the IEP goals, like using words to describe an object, using words to describe their feelings. And you can even incorporate some writing goals into some of the extension activities that are below. They have some extension activities here. So like I said, you can get this exact lesson plan, but without my accommodations, right there on the Getty website, like I showed you. And then if you would like a copy of mine, feel free to email me. My email is trow@fullerton.edu. So you are welcome to email me and I'd be happy to share my modified lesson with you. So again, here's the piece of art that you would have all those conversations about. And this one that I wanted to share with you is Language Through Art and ESL Curriculum. This is actually for adults. It was actually written for adults who English is their second language and they need some English instruction. Sorry. But I think you could really use this with all ages, even kindergarten, because the first one is about family. So let me show you the image first. Okay. This is the image from the Getty, but this is actually the student handout. The image that you would share and show, and they have that for download too, is without these names. But the students get a handout with all the names so that then you can have a discussion about what's going on in the portrait. So this is called John 14th Lord Willoughby de Broke and His Family by Zoffany in 1776. So there's a lot of things that you can infer from this portrait. You could talk about what the family's wearing, what you think this says about them. Do they look like, you know, what kind of lifestyle do you think they have? But also there's a lot about how they're interacting with each other. And so there are a lot of really great language opportunities. So let me share with you the lesson plan here. Okay. I think it's showing. Yes, good. All right. Oh, this is the one I just, sorry. Here we go. Okay. Let me blow it up. All right. So this lesson focuses on a family depicted in a work of art. They're going to use vocabulary related to people and families. The activities emphasize oral and written descriptions of the people portrayed in the artwork and the relationships between the people. So the objectives are that they would be able to orally describe in complete sentences what is seen, answer questions with a yes or no response or an affirmative negative response, orally describe the relationship of figures, and write descriptive sentences about a painting. So first you would introduce some vocabulary words such as painting and portrait, and display the portrait up front right at the beginning. And then I said here, you can, I really encourage you to use more diverse works that represent your students better. And I will share those pieces that I chose in just a moment. So first you're gonna ask students to describe what they see in the portrait using a sentence frame. I see blank. You can point to the person or thing indicated and then write the word on the board or whatever you have available using a sentence frame. So like I said, this is an ESL unit, but also really great for students who might have a speech and language delay and are English learners or one or the other. Distribute the handout. Who are they? I showed that to you. And then you're going to ask some questions such as, is John Pato the father? Is George daughter? Yes, no. You would want to explain that at this point in time in this place, boys wore dresses, and that was the norm because the boys in this picture wear dresses, and they might assume that they're girls, so you've got to kind of share that up front. And then you ask questions about the relationships to each other. Is Louisa the daughter of John Pato and Lady Louisa North? Yes, Louisa is their daughter. So see, you're learning the relationship words and also these words, their, his, her. And you can consider using this, I would consider using this as a follow-up to lessons that you're doing on pronoun instruction. and on family language and things like that. So I would do that ahead of time and then use this as a follow-up activity to reinforce that. And then it says to have students look closely at the image on the handout and write, but I said, or speak 3 descriptive sentences. So if you don't want to turn this into a writing lesson, you just want to talk about art and practice language, then just have them do it orally. That's fine. And then it has students to draw their own families. Ask students to make a sketch of their family members or friends doing something together and tell them they can use stick figures. It doesn't have to be fancy. But I said could also offer the option of sharing a photo of their family and then continue the discussion just using a photo rather than their own sketches. So if you don't want to turn this into a drawing exercise, but you just want language and talking about art and talking about families, let them take a picture or take a picture of a picture that they have at home on their tablet and share that, and share your own as well. And let's see, just a couple more things to share. And then you'll ask students to compare what's similar and different between their own family portrait or photo and Zoffany's painting or others. So both show children. The examples would be both portraits show children. My portrait has 1 child and Zoffany's portrait has 3 children. Also, they could compare and contrast with each other's photos and the other images that you may have shared. So let me share with you now let's go back to the slides, and I'll share with you the other pieces that I found online that I think represent a more diverse group of families. So this one is called Empanadas. It is from 1991 by an artist called Carmen Lomas Garza. And so you could search for Carmen Lomas Garza and you can find this. I love this, this work of art because there's so much going on, right? What a difference. Look at the difference here. You could really do a lot of comparing and contrasting. This is a bigger family. They're all working together. They're cooking. This family looks like, they're finishing up a meal together while this family's cooking a meal together. So much that you can talk about. You can figure out who might be the parents and who might be grandparents or aunt and uncle or what the case may be. So a lot of discussion opportunities there. And then here's another one, and this is just an art print. It was not titled, but it's by Diane Dengel, who's a contemporary artist. You can find this piece on fineartamerica.com. And I love this one. It's so cute and so relatable. So there's also a lot you can talk about here. There isn't a mom and dad in this particular portrait. It is what we assume is the grandma. And what's happening here, where do you think the parents might be? Maybe the grandma's watching them while the parents work. So many different observations and inferences that you can make. Is everyone happy in this picture? What do you think about over here? Who might this be? So that's it. That's all I'm going to share for the Getty, but I hope I gave you some possible accommodations that you could apply to many of the different lesson plans on the Getty. I hope that you have fun trying out those lesson plans. They really are great. There's just so many different things that you can do with them, and so many of them would work for many, many different levels. So it's a great way to make art accessible for all of our students. One more resource that I've heard teachers are really loving using with their students, and I was checking it out after somebody told me about it, and I wanted to share it. It's called Artforkidshub.com. If you just go to that website, they have a YouTube channel that you can click on from their website, and they have just short videos that are step-by-step teaching kids how to make fun, different, simple drawings. And so it's a great thing that you could incorporate into distance learning, or do it with your kids, alongside them on Zoom or something like that. Really cute and very much easy for everyone to have some success with. So I just added this in here. I mentioned it before, but I think my video is getting a little funky. If you would like my modified versions of those Getty lesson plans, or if you want this PowerPoint, or if you have any questions about that I shared, feel free to contact me, Tiffany Row at TROW@fullerton.edu, and I would be happy to share that with you. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today, and I wish you all the best. Bye.